I'm Alex Michelson. This week, the issue is immigration, and we hear from both sides. With us, U.S. Border Patrol Chief Patrol Agent Gregory K. Bovino, overseeing the raids for the El Centro sector, is here for his first local news sit-down since the raids began. Then, a very different view from Gustavo Arellano of the L.A. Times, also here in studio. The Issue Is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
We're here, and we're not going anywhere.
These are images from the latest Border Patrol raid from Sacramento this week. The man overseeing that raid and starring in that video is Gregory Bovino, U.S. Border Patrol Chief Patrol Border Agent, overseeing the El Centro section. He is in our studio for the first time for a rare local interview. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We appreciate it. So what was the idea behind that raid?
Sure. Alex, Title 8 Immigration Enforcement. That's the name of the game, whether it's Customs and Border Protection, ICE, HSI, or our allied law enforcement partners. As you know, we're here in California to effect that Title 8 mission. That's our immigration statutes. We were in Sacramento to do just that.
So was there a specific reason that you targeted that Home Depot parking lot?
We did have prior intelligence that there were targets that we were interested in and around that Home Depot, as well as other targeted enforcement packages in and around the Sacramento area. So we were there for a reason.
You know, the mayor of Sacramento was not a huge fan of this. He put out a statement, Kevin McCarty, and we'll put this up on the screen. It said that these ICE raids are a violation of civil rights and an affront to democracy. There's a difference between deporting criminals and targeting people at Home Depot looking for work to feed their families. These raids are immoral and inhumane. He goes on to defend the idea that California is a sanctuary state. What do you say to that?
You know, I would say to Kevin that that's wishful thinking at its very worst. I can't think of a more misinformed opinion. He's got the right to have his opinion, but misinformed because when we're doing this immigration enforcement, look at what happened yesterday in Sacramento. 2 aggravated felons standing in front of a big box store. Now, Alex, what would have happened had someone picked up one of those aggravated felons and taken them into their home, say to paint or do some work? One of those individuals was an actual child molester. The other, an aggravated felon convicted and served hard time for burglary. Do you want someone like that in your home, Kevin? Does he want somebody like that in his home doing work? What about honest Ma and Pa America who are licensed, bonded, insured, and want to do that type of work that are being cut out by aggravated felon illegal aliens?
We know that it was not only aggravated felons that you're picking up in some of these, and there are people that are here other than coming into this country illegally who have not committed any crimes, who are being deported because of this. Do you ever feel bad for those people and their families?
No. Bottom line is no. Alex, what does Jacqueline Nungaray feel now? What does Molly Tibbetts or Kate Steinle or Officer Singh feel now? What do the Angel Moms feel? Those folks that come across the border, that's not a victimless crime, and it never has been. I think that's a fallacy that's put out there by folks that don't really know what the situation is. Those individuals come in, they may have a criminal history in their home country. We often find, and we're finding out more and more when we do communicate with those home countries, that they do have significant criminal histories from those home countries. So, no, I don't feel bad. Come in the right way. Let us check you out, understand who you are, and immigration is supposed to work for our country. It's supposed to work for us to make America a stronger nation. And what's happened over the past 4 years did not do that, with millions of illegal aliens coming in, millions. It was an unmitigated, chaotic disaster.
You know, there was a court hearing recently where the Trump administration lost in court from a federal judge. And we want to put up some of what she said in terms of this area, which is mostly the Southern California area, issued a ruling that prohibited you from conducting detentive stops in the district unless the agent or officer has reasonable suspicion that the person stopped is within the U.S. in violation of U.S. immigration laws. And she goes on to sort of point out that you should be barred from solely relying on race, ethnicity, speaking with an accent, being at sites such as day laborer sites like a Home Depot, car washes, fields. For now, are the raids in Southern California essentially on hold?
Alex, absolutely not. The raids have not stopped here in Los Angeles or anywhere in California. CBP, HSI, ICE, and Department of Homeland Security, we go by the law. We've always gone by the law, and we're going to go even harder now.
So when you're in, say, at Home Depot parking lot, do you have reasonable suspicion that all these people are here illegally? And what are you basing that off of?
Sure. Anywhere we're at, whether it's a Home Depot parking lot or making a traffic stop out on the highway, chasing someone across the border, whatever it is, we have reasonable suspicion, and we develop those articulable facts needed for reasonable suspicion to either make the stop or the detention.
How do you define reasonable suspicion?
Sure. It's a set of facts, articulable facts that a reasonable person might rely on to, in fact, to make that detention and or stop. You know, Alex, what's your citizenship? Would you state your citizenship for me?
I'm a U.S. citizen born in the United States.
Fantastic. May I ask that to anyone at, near, or present in the United States? Absolutely. That's an articulable fact. The way you answered it, what you answered is very important there. I'll take that and many other facts into the calculus to determine the reasonable suspicion.
One of the raids that got the most attention, the largest raid of the entire Trump administration, happened recently in Camarillo and Carpinteria. This was focused on something called Glass House, which was a licensed marijuana farm where you had suspicion of a massive illegal hiring scheme. You got a warrant to go into this workplace, and you ended up arresting hundreds of people. We've seen the images from outside. We haven't really seen the images from inside. Walk us through what it was like inside when all that was happening, what you found.
Specifically, we're talking about unaccompanied children working and being present at that farm alongside 361 illegal aliens, many of whom were convicted felons. We have that convicted felon coming into this scenario again, as it does in just about every scenario we see in California or the United States. So you had unaccompanied children working alongside convicted felons, some of whom were child molesters themselves.
We've got a picture of some of those children we want to put up on the screen. Obviously, you blurred their faces. How are they doing? What happened to those kids after this?
Sure, those kids were turned over to juvenile coordinators with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and those children will hopefully be reunited with their families if they can find them. They've received housing and they're in good care right now.
What about the owner of Glass House or the management? Because obviously, if all what you're saying is true, they're the ones responsible. Are they under arrest? What's happening there?
Sure. And Alex, that is a federal investigation. So some of the more salient points there, I'll pass that on to the investigators with Homeland Security Investigations. They're doing a fantastic job of doing what they do best, and that's investigating crimes, especially crimes against the homeland.
Meaning that could come later.
It's possible. Again, I won't delve into the federal investigation.
I'm reading
there,
between the lines there. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about another big raid that got a lot of attention is what happened in MacArthur Park. We had a moment where L.A. Mayor Karen Bass showed up, asked to talk to who was in charge, which was you, and we actually caught that moment on camera. Here's what happened.
Getting ready to leave? Okay, please, can you leave ASAP?
My comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
So we've heard her version of that. We saw her version of that. What was your version of that?
Sure. I talked to Mayor Bass there for a few seconds. She asked if we were going to leave. I said, we'll leave when the operation's over. And Alex, there's millions of illegal aliens and illegal alien criminals here in California. We've got a job to do, and we're going to do that job. As far as MacArthur Park itself, birthplace of MS-13. Let me say that again. That's the birthplace of MS-13. That's not their park. That's Ma and Pa America's Park. And we came into that park because it's Ma and Pa America's Park. We'll go anywhere in the city of Los Angeles to affect that Title VIII mission, which is what that was, and anywhere in California to do that. That's why we were there.
Were any MS-13 gang members arrested that day? Was anybody arrested that day?
Sure. We had 50 strike teams across Los Angeles, so there were dozens of arrests that day, some close to MacArthur Park. we make arrests every day of gang members and folks that should not be here in the country.
Because you saw what she said, what Governor Newsom said. They all basically said that this is theater, that you're doing this to try to scare the community. But there's really nothing that came out of it. It was a kind of a waste of resources, march in there, march out, and nothing came of it. What do you say to that?
You know, in talking with the folks that live at and near MacArthur Park, a fantastic use of resources there. The park was, for the first time in a long time, according to them, they felt safe there. You know, I was on scene there. I was about 60 yards away from Mayor Bass. She didn't want to come over and talk to me. She wanted to talk on the phone there. But I was very close there. And a lot of residents passing by said, thank you for your service. It's about time that you came here.
You say that you were praised by folks that come there, and there are some people that are praising you for doing that. But you know, there's plenty of protesters as well. You see it at everything you do. The elected officials of this region who elected these Democratic leaders with big majorities who are speaking for these people are very much against you. They keep saying, get out. We don't want you here. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, Alex, so I think those folks choose aggravated felons and child molesters over American citizens. That's the very first thing.
But they would say that's not just that. They would say we don't like aggravated felons or child molesters.
But they don't say that.
But no, they do. I mean, many of them do. Governor Newsom has said that. Mayor Bass has said that. They say we don't want criminals here either. But basically, you know, the father who's got 3 kids in the military who's going to work shouldn't be nabbed.
They need to tone that rhetoric down.
Yeah.
That rhetoric is not beneficial to the immigration mission. It's not beneficial to their community. They are a large part of why folks want to come out and protest. These folks may not understand the entire story because they're not being fed the entire story by those elected politicians, and they come out and do things that may get themselves into trouble.
Speaking of toning the rhetoric down, I totally agree with that. And that's a point that I made with Mayor Bass recently. I said, if we don't tone the rhetoric down, somebody's going to get killed on either a protester, somebody in Border Patrol, somebody's going to get killed from this. And so I asked her about how can we tone the rhetoric down. Here's what she said. Is there a way to cool down the temperature here? Is there a deal maybe to be made on sanctuary cities? Is there some negotiation behind the scenes with you and the administration to try to take things down a notch?
Well, you should know, and you know me, I'm always willing to talk. I'm always willing to have a discussion. But the way you cool down the temperature is you stop what you were doing. And that's essentially the order from the court today. So maybe since the administration has been told that the Constitution actually applies to them, maybe they will be interested in having a conversation.
Are you guys having a conversation?
We're having a conversation right now, Alex. We're absolutely ready.
Well, we're having a conversation. I have a conversation with her, but are the two of you having a conversation?
We've had conversations before on several occasions. She decided to join the lawsuit against Customs and Border Protection and DHS, so that doesn't do that conversation a lot of good when we're both parties to that lawsuit. It makes it a lot more difficult. But the conversation is ready to be had. And as far as stopping arresting bad people and bad things in her community, we're not going to stop that. I can't imagine that she would want that to stop, and we're not going to stop.
And it sounds like you're going to be here for a while.
It could be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for sharing your views. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Up next, a different view on immigration. Gustavo Arellano from the LA Times. Stay with us. That recent Border Patrol raid in MacArthur Park, one of many recently written about extensively by our next guest. Gustavo Arellano is a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter and columnist with the LA Times. Gustavo, welcome back to The Issue Is, and great to have you in the house.
Instead of my Cosmo Cavern on Zoom, so gracias, Alex.
It is weird to see you in person. And because you were here in-house, you just watched our last segment with Greg Bovino, the head of the Border Patrol in the area, who I know has got a different view on immigration than you. What did you make of what he had to say?
I liked the character better when it was played by Robert Duvall in Apocalypse Now. Just this swaggering, I'm going to come and conquer this invading horde. Mom, Pa American, what are you, Walter Winchell? Like, we know, look, he has his job to do. I wish he would talk to my colleagues at the Los Angeles Times, but his office never returns our requests. I would love to talk to him to sort of see his story,
Yeah.
but it's obvious that he's trying to project this aura of invincibility. We are going to come. The whole thing in MacArthur Park, it's like, it's a charade. If you're going to do the job, do the job. You don't need to put all this attention on yourself.
But to his point that it's a crime to come here in the first place, that there's a whole lot of criminals that are among us that we don't know about until you go in and you find it. And that's making us safer. What do you say to that?
I mean, it's interesting because I heard what you were saying, the tone. Can we keep the tone down? And so when he equivocates, everyone who's come into this country without papers is the rapist, is the assaulter. That's not true. And he knows it's not true. And he's going to say, well, if you cross the border illegally, that is a crime in and of itself. Okay, sure. Fine. And what? Like, how are you going to sell your mission of cracking down on criminals when you are indiscriminate in grabbing everyone? And to his point where he was saying like, oh, at MacArthur Park, people were applauding us and saying thank you. You saw MacArthur Park when he was there. It was completely empty. The people who were there were booing him. And most of the folks who use that park are the undocumented people that he is also demonizing.
Well, the MacArthur Park also has been a problem for a long time.
Exactly.
I mean, it does have gang problems from MS-13. It's also got a whole lot of homeless people. There's a tremendous amount of drug use. There's poverty. I mean, that's not a place where I certainly would feel safe late at night and certainly would not want like my kids or my grandmother to be at. I mean, there's a problem there. The question is what they just did something to solve it, which is the point you made in your column.
Exactly. That's a sad irony. If any place needs federal intervention, it's MacArthur Park. It is very sad. But you don't go in on a mission where you have people on horseback with one white horse, the optics of it. Who did he actually arrest that day? He said, we had 50 operations. We arrested them all around Southern California. But he didn't answer your question. So he's equivocating. It's all shows. If you're going to do the job, do the job.
So what does doing the job look like to you?
I mean, let's first and foremost, Border Patrol, what are you doing all the way up in Sacramento? How about go down and stay at the border, capture the people?
Well, they would say they're doing such a good job. Now they have the ability to go to other places.
You also have HSI, you also have ICE, all the toxic alphabet soup of all these organizations, who I just call migra, immigration. So at least start with the securing the border, doing that job. Then after that, look, there is a legal way to do it. When you have the warrant given to you by a judge, then that's when you could go in and, I mean, that's the federal law. So if you're going to do that, go through that. But and I'm not going to put this all on Border Patrol because really the worst raids that you've seen here has mostly been ICE. And of course, there's separate departments. But going into Home Depot, did you really sign up to defend this country by running after a paletero, by running after a gardener? Like, give me a break. Those are not the hard people. If you want and again, the irony, if you want to go after the hard people, if you made connections with the people who are actually being affected, just like Daryl Gates did so many years ago with Special Order 40, which basically told his LAPD, do not bother with immigration status because we want people to trust PD because we want to go after actual criminals, not the criminals in the minds of Stephen Miller. Which
is really the sort of basis for the idea of a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state goes back to Daryl Gates and the LAPD all those years ago.
Of all the people, Daryl Gates.
So, your hero. So let's talk about what's happening in the community right now in terms of the fear. Because, as we know, the Latino community is not a monolith. There are some people who came here legally who love what Donald Trump is doing because they say nobody should cut the line and it's been illegal immigration has been out of control. And then there are other people who are really scared to even leave their house, some of whom are here legally and are still scared to leave their house.
You know what I'm actually seeing? I'm seeing those Latino Trump supporters being disgusted by the raids.
Are you?
Because they said, and Trump was such a genius at selling this. And I wrote about this last year where one time I was in line and I was talking to somebody who used to be an illegal immigrant but now an American citizen. And he was railing against the Venezuelans who are invading this country and supposedly getting free this, and that. I'm like, dude, or compa, what you're saying right now about Venezuelans, they were saying about you when you're an illegal immigrant. He's like, oh no, well, I came here illegally the right way. I came in and I didn't get anything. So those people are getting disgusted. I mean, you've seen polls show that the cratering of support among Latino Republicans for Trump is a real thing because they didn't sign up for this. They didn't sign up for a gardener to be caught. They didn't sign up for the father of 3 Marines, Narciso Barraza down in Santana, to be caught. They want the MS-13 members caught. They want the Florencia members caught. They do not want people who've been here 30 years who have not done anything except live without papers to be caught.
Gustavo, Great to see you. Thank you so much.
There we go. Be Mexican here.
That's me. Up next, the fight over high-speed rail. Stay with us. Welcome back. The battle between President Trump and Governor Newsom continuing on multiple fronts this week, including high-speed rail in the Central Valley. The Trump administration pulling $4 billion in federal funding from that troubled project that's billions over budget and decades behind schedule. Governor Newsom announcing that California is suing to keep that money. But if the state loses in court, it could be the end of this project. The San Francisco Bay Area now, where U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum toured Alcatraz, the prison, this week. The president wants to reopen it, which would take an act of Congress, a rollback of an environmental review, and a whole lot of money. Former Speaker Pelosi, who represents the area, says it's possibly President Trump's stupidest idea yet, and the governor is against it as well. A reminder that you can listen to extended versions of our show in podcast form, including lengthier interviews with both of our guests this week. Just search for The Issue Is. We'll be right back. You getting to shoot baskets with basketball players? How cool is that?
Very cool.
We're so grateful that our Issue Is special on athletes who served was nominated for an Emmy in the sports category this year. Last year, we were honored to win an Emmy in that category for our profile of Dodgers great Clayton Kershaw and his nonprofit called Kershaw's Challenge. Next week, we are back with Clayton for a new interview as he hands out 3,000 backpacks to mark his 3,000th strikeout. Thanks for watching The Issue Is this week. We'll see you next week for more.